Hello.
How's it going, Ross?
Hey, Tim.
How
Doing
was
all right?
your bike crash?
Yeah, it's coming together. Just got stitches in my hand still.
Road bike or mountain bike or gravel?
It was it was on gravel. I was on my mountain bike, but
Yeah.
hit some gravel and just went over the handlebars right into some rocks, and so I got stitches in my hand and my knee. And the
Ooh.
doctor's like, you have to let it air out, and lots of fun.
I do a lot of mountain biking myself here. In the
Oh
UK, it's
yeah?
good. Yeah, where I live, it's in the north. It's like there's lots of some very big hills. Let's put it that way.
Nice. Yeah, I'm just getting back into it after I did it a lot as a kid, but now I'm, getting back into it, trying to be more active as an adult. And then I go ahead and hurt myself. Classic. Anywho, I think we'll have a shorter meeting today. I don't think too many people are going to join. Hey Santiago. Oh, here we go. Get some more people coming in. Yeah, so just go ahead and get started quickly. So quickly, just a bunch of bug fixes and updates, not too much to even mention to not necessarily confuse people, but probably the biggest update from the last 2 weeks has been the streaming. Streaming has been going really well. A lot of people really enjoy that feature. Answer sources is another big feature that people love. That's one that a lot of people have enabled. Added some search features. We're going to be adding a whole filtering section to the My Chatbots page. So filter by name, latest creation, most messages used, stuff like that. And then we're almost done with our auto website scraping feature, which would be really nice. That's going to be super useful for a lot of people, including ourselves. And then basically just been talking about larger features, and this might even be it since we have a bit of a smaller crew today. We could go over some of those maybe in a little bit more depth to get your guys' feedback and see kind of what's on your guys' minds. Been seeing a lot more stuff about the about voice. We actually found a cool new thing this morning that potentially might be able to offer voice in for free, which would be cool. Voice out would still have to be done through like a API or 11 Labs or something like that. But yeah, hey Sean. So lots of progress. We're just, hard at work this week basically. So we can kind of just immediately go into any QAs if you guys have any questions or anything.
I've got one.
Yep.
So we've had a couple of chatbots running now for the first quarter. They've been on live websites now on live client websites, should I say, for probably about 3, maybe 4 months. One of the big ones was asking us, could we do a review or like a report of the activity of the bot, what it's been doing? So I was able to pull out the chat history in the back end, look at the number of leads which were generated, take that information as the CSV export actually for the chat conversations, that into Chat GPT with a prompt that asked it to analyze that chat data and come back with me to tell me more about some highlights of what had been said in the conversations, timestamps, amount of duration of the conversations, all that kind of stuff.
Genius.
So it was pretty cool in terms of what it came back with. So for an example, so we have one client, they've had 248 conversations, registered conversations. When we look in the back end though, we see 74 live conversations. So one of my questions will be, there's like a disconnect between what we're seeing and what we're pulling out in the actual CSV extract. My feeling is that those are occasions where the chat's maybe started, but then nothing's actually happened within that chat. So we're getting a line of data which doesn't, it's timestamped, but it doesn't actually have any content as a conversation in it. But that's interesting in itself because it shows us that that bot is being used a number of times. We're then able to see, because we asked for first name, last name, and email address for this particular client in the chat, how many leads were generated. In their case, it's like 36 leads generated. Then we could look using ChatGPT. We were able to look at the date stamp and timestamp on the conversation. So it told us what time of the day most conversations were had and what time in the last 3 months we got the most activity. So as a snapshot report for a client off the bat, it was really quite nice. But I just wondered something like that would be either we can work on it a bit more to create a more succinct prompt that we put into ChatGPT to give us the data back,
Hmm.
because it's not very good at understanding JSON. So it didn't like that. It kept going away and saying, "Oh, I found an error. Now I know what the error is. I'm going to recorrect it and do it again and do it again." And he did that several times before we got some
Hmm.
information. But it would be interesting to know if, I know we've talked about doing reports in the platform in the future. This is now that they're starting to be used. This is becoming like a thing now. So,
Yeah.
doing a a month end report or a quarterly report for the client, just to say, this is what your chatbot did versus this is what a form does on your website. And
Yep.
that's what we've asked the client to go away and review now, is look at the analytics and the form processes they had on the website versus um, what the chatbot's been able to generate in terms of leads.
Did you include any graphs or charts or anything, any visual elements?
Yeah, and Chat GPT creates the
It
charts
made
for you.
some. I figured. Yeah, that's cool.
So
Okay.
there are some sort of GPTs that you can use. I
Yeah.
found one GPT library, so it understands that you are loading an Excel.
Hmm.
Uh, and I thought I just uploaded the CSV actually just to see how it would cope with that, and it was fine. But there was a bit of back and forth in terms of the conversation.
Yeah. I think send us over maybe like whatever screenshots or ideas of what you might have, and then that could help us build a visual representation. And we just had a whole meeting about design, so we could that will help us like design that feature conceptually, so then we can bring it to our engineers and get that developed because it's we're catching up on a lot of the backlog items that have been kind of on the roadmap in the background. So, but it's not necessarily been needed until kind of
Mm.
in the last couple months when, I mean, we're seeing the usage across our entire platform. Our OpenAI API costs are going through the roof, but it's all good. It means just more people are using it. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Was there any standout metrics that you could think of off the top of your head that would be useful that we could write down just to make a note of this?
The number of conversations it's had, and I would say the number of valid conversations.
Okay.
And obviously, if you're using lead capture, the number of leads that have been
Or leads.
generated.
Yep.
We know in this particular instance that we did quite a lot of testing in the early days, in the first month. So we've used quite a lot of like bogus email address
Yeah.
information in there. But going forward, then that we test occasionally, but not that. It's more of a user thing. And what I was trying to get the GPT to do was to understand and look for keywords. So we were able to pull out keywords in terms of what the questions were being asked. And I guess the more data you get over time, the more intelligent that report becomes, because it can look at over a longer period and more conversations.
Yep.
I think about the Klarna case study that showed us again. 2.3 million conversations in that. There's a lot of data there that you can start to
So
crunch
much.
and play
Yeah.
with. But this is an early stage thing. But again, if we can have that baked in as like standard reports or editable reports, that'd be really cool.
Okay. Definitely. Yeah. And I think that will be the basis of anything that we could add in the future on top of that, because there's a lot of cool integrations that we could basically build where it sends a prompt with X data without you having to download and copy and upload that data into a GPT. Like we could just host that window kind of in the platform. So that could be an interesting addition as well. It's good to hear that it's getting you the time of day thing is it was really when you said that that's really interesting to me too, because that's something that we could just calculate natively pretty easily without even having to use AI.
I'm just checking the. Yeah, I mean, in this case, like UK times, but it was pulling. Typically 9 o'clock in the morning was the 9 o'clock, and then 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, bit of a die off, and then 4 o'clock. So you got, for them, they had sort of these sort of three key areas in the day when it was being used.
Interesting.
First thing in the morning, around lunchtime, and then towards close of play in the day.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, the vision for that has always been try to make the analytics dashboard something that is can be used for analytics, but then also as a marketing tool. Potentially putting in like, here's the dollar value of a conversation or a lead, and then it shows that displayed in their dashboard as, oh, this is how much money you've saved or generated using the bot based off of, these numbers and conversations and chats and things.
Yeah, these guys don't have their CRM hooked up just yet. But what I have asked them to do is to look to see if any of those specific leads have resulted in a sale,
Mm,
because then we can attribute the chatbot straight away to a value sale. And they sell high ticket items, hundreds
mm,
of thousands of pounds at a time. So it'd be really cool if we could do that.
definitely. How's everyone else doing? Any open questions people have, problems, anything, anybody Want to talk about sales or kind of a open conversation today?
I'll jump in with a bit of a question for both you and possibly aimed at Tim, my cloud Tim. How are people getting on with the use cases of I believe Tim had spoken about, I think your client that you were just speaking about putting things like table um, data and stuff and using it almost like a teacher. Um, and I don't know, Frost, you've got many other people that you see that I've seen over the last few sort of sessions. There's been quite a few people mentioning that kind of thing. Didn't know if there'd been any successes with it as of yet with anyone.
Yeah. Let me pull this one up. So we have a lot of customer support tickets, and I was like, how can we best use our own platform to help, solve these faster? So I created a bot that's called Email Support Agent. And what I did was I basically told it that instead of being, anything else, your primary goal is to read emails and then answer in an email. Keep your email short and concise as possible. And I basically gave this to our one of our support VAs to just test it out. And she came back today in our daily stand-up meeting and she was like, this is amazing. Like it when I don't know what to say, it gives me an idea. When I don't necessarily know which, documentation link within the documentation docs is the answer, she can just ask it and it will give her the link to that answer, which then she can then link right inside the support email reply. So that this is one that I was so close to adding it before this meeting, but I wanted to just review it a couple more days. But I'm going to add this to the marketplace so you guys can clone this one and mess around with it as you'd like. So that's like one good one, and one of the main reasons is giving those links. So like having organized documentation, and this took us kind of a long time to do, but putting all the documentation inside Gitbook, which formats it in this like hierarchical structure, makes it a lot easier for like users and the AI to understand, honestly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
For us, Alex, it was more about same client. So they're using a chatbot which is front facing on the website, which is trained on the general products and services of the business. And then we use a second chatbot, which is a technical chatbot, which is trained in all of the tech specs for all of their products. And in addition, all of the fault codes, and typically ask fault questions that engineers have to deal with that particular client set of products. And its intended use is internal, so it's for the engineers to have a quick reference, a bit like you're doing there, Ross. You're not having that as a front-facing bot; it's just being used internally.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you more efficient, and that's what they want to do. So everybody in the business is pretty much on a level playing field in terms of the knowledge that they have for the products and services in the business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's. I mean, the person that I've had is a friend that I'm having the brief conversation with because I'm literally only just setting myself up. Um, they've essentially got like engineers slash technicians, and they have kind of like a broad spectrum of general technicians, and then they've got master technicians as they call them that are like a lot more senior, both on experience. They've had more advanced training. Um, and it's trying to possibly get some of their knowledge into something that can just help because sometimes they're pulling these master technicians off of jobs or interrupting them just for like these kind of 2 minute conversations, and it's just if some of that knowledge is somewhere else it could kind of cut down on the productivity side of things, um, or improve the productivity as such. um, but yeah, a lot of stuff they have with like error codes and that it's the computer tells them anyway kind of what it is. But yeah, it's really, as I said, just trying to clean things up quite a bit.
You could record like their answers and transcribe it and then upload that as a QA.
Yeah, that's the thing because the other thing wanted to look at is if there's almost like a common, and I mean I do not know, this is possibly more of a chat GBT side of things, and then see the thing. But for example, if there was error or one fault and there's a common denominator on the sense of, oh, okay, if this fault happens quite a lot, we also suggest you go and check this, this, and this, because from previous investigations, these things have also caused the problem. So it's kind of like a yeah, almost like creating kind of to-do lists or kind of stuff, but just like intuitive feedback of going, this could be something else you need to look at, or this could be the cause of this kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. I recently we created one for a lawyer who's creating an AI chatbot for their clients to have quick questions. And we wanted to make sure that at the end of every single message that it gives, it not only gives, reputable links from their knowledge base to help corroborate that answer, but it also has a call to action at the end of every message in relation to the answer that it gives. So if the answer is, here's how I create a business in Texas or an LLC in Texas, and it gives you, step one, two, three, four. And then at the end of it, it's like, oh, by the way, do you want help creating this business in Texas? Click here to book a meeting or click here to email. And that answer can be dynamically changed based off of the response up here, but the call to action is the same. So that could be very similar. So the stuff that it gives can be dynamically changed, but the concept of, hey, we want to add something at the end of every response that does this. And you could basically just put that in your base system prompt, and then the AI, test it a few times, but theoretically it should just work. I actually just added a version of the prompt that I'd used to build the bot for the law client inside of the documentation here under prompting, writing a base system examples here that I basically cut out to help try to define what a prompt is and can be. And the example that I mentioned with for the lawyer client, I pretty much copied and pasted word for word these different sections, and then filled in the sections where it says specify. You fill in these sections, and then putting this all together gives you a pretty solid prompt that can handle most use cases, and it also gets you into the thought process of like how you can kind of structure these prompts to have AI agents to do different things. And again, I literally just copied and pasted this tutorial and then updated it to make it match this lawyer client's use case. But everything is pretty much the exact same. So this is also another really good, and I'll make a note of we got to add this one to the marketplace too. But yes, that's a good one. I would recommend checking out that one as well.
Alex, we also with the same client when we were talking to their technical guy. So they got one senior technical guy who's been with the business for a long, long time. So he's like lots of expertise, lots of knowledge in terms of how faults come into the business or queries come into the business. So he's written us like an SOP in terms of the top questions that he wants to know or their team would be trained on. So literally, if a new person joins their team, they take them through this process. Ask who the customer is, what's their business name, where are they situated, what's their address, who's booking the call, who's the best contact person on site, contact numbers, do they have a purchase order number, and then the urgency of the fault. And this is all sort of defined before they even get to there. So I guess, Ross, tell me, can you get it to ask those questions in a certain order? Would you do that through lead scoring?
And then you would add those questions in the order that you want them to ask. So the first question, you would add that one first.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth.
Yeah, I've kind of got a base idea. I think for what I would want to do. I mean, I will probably message you outside of this, Ross, just because I obviously, if this is going on YouTube, I don't actually want to say what it is because it has potential in theory. It's linked to a global brand, sort of as a thing, and it's something that if I could really pull it, I've got basically ins with the UK side of it, and if it could just work in the way I would like it to work, I think it could be a mega game changer, but I just don't know if it's far too complex. As I said, from the basis of the information it would need to take in order to spit out like the guide. But as you said, like if in theory it's just directing people to kind of guide like document pages or whatnot, going, oh, here's the URL link for what you need to do, or
I would structure it as
yeah,
tell it to like give it a give a quick summary answer and then link to documentation for the full technical specs. Because that like especially as like an engineer, I would want to see the actual documentation, but I don't want to figure out how to get to the documentation.
yeah,
I just wanted to know exactly where it is.
yeah,
And potentially maybe even that quick summary answer might get me my answer that I need right then and there quickly, which is I think more important. Like accuracy is more important and then well, yeah, accuracy is more important than speed. And
mm,
ensuring that you have a version of both, you get a extremely quick answer giving the summary, but then you also get it's backed up by the legitimate documentation. I'll send you a link when I add this one to the marketplace. I think that'll be a good place for you to start.
yeah. I'll have a play with it and see.
Anybody else have a question?
Sorry. So to do with export of information again. So with another client uses the data capture, but isn't hooked up to the CRM, but uses the email notification to say when a lead's been generated in a chat.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen it in the roadmap as a request. I think I've voted it as well. Is there a way to improve the formatting of that email that goes out to the client or the recipient? So at the moment, it's just a bit of messy scripts on the page. And it's not very user friendly. It's all the information is there. It's just the styling and the formatting of the email.
Yeah. The short answer is yes. I'm just trying to quickly brainstorm how we can work out this feature. Because like on one hand, if we customize it at all, people are like, I want it to customize it my way. So I'm thinking like might as well just build out a little section that says, here's the message that you want to, here's a custom message that you want to include in the email. And then attached to the email will be the data. Let's brainstorm more on this one, like in Discord in our channel, because I think that we'll have to figure out some way where we can make it so it works kind of for anybody.
I think I put an example actually in the roadmap previously. So have a look, see if you can find that, and it's just really simple. It's just the styling of the email. So it had a logo, it had hi such and such, and then you've got a new lead, and it just laid it out a bit more neatly than.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at that and we'll get that going. Cool. Yeah, great feedback. Excited to hear people are using it, and we'll get some of these features out to help you sell more. All righty. Thanks everyone for joining. Talk to you guys next week.
Later. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah.